Hello, welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. Give everyone a moment to get settled, have a few more people enter. While everyone is entering, if you want to put in the chat where you're calling in from today and what brought you in. All right, we have someone calling in from Virginia Beach, Richmond, Orlando, Columbus, ooh, Pennsylvania, Texas, Wisconsin. Oh, I love this. Great range. Indiana, Minnesota, other Texas. This is amazing. Wonderful. Ooh, another Arizona. Oh, perfect. Get that. All right. Wonderful. Does anyone want to add in the chat, like, where are you in your solar journey process? Be very curious to hear that too. Are you just starting to look into solar? Is this the first event you've attended? Have you been doing some research, but you really just want to hear from people who have gone through the process? All right, nice. Some people just starting, first time, first event. Wonderful. Well, you guys have definitely come from the right place then. Our panelists have such a wealth of knowledge that they're going to be able to share. Um, yes, great. All right, we have some experienced people in here as well. People looking for some ideas, people planning for it. I love it. All right, very little solar knowledge. Hopefully you guys are able to come out of this with a bunch of tools that you um, didn't know existed before and that will be able to help you in this process. Okay, so I think we have given enough time to kind of get everyone settled in. So I am going to go ahead and share my screen. So give me one moment, everyone. Right, beginning. All right. So thank you everyone so much for joining us today to our solar homeowner Q&A. Oh,
Yep.
Annie, I'm sorry, were you going to say
Nope,
something?
sorry. It collapsed, but now it's back. So that was
Oh,
weird.
okay, perfect. But yes, thank you so much for joining us today. Fall and winter season are upon us, so we're hoping that, those planning for this will be some really great information to get you started for next year and answer some questions or that you might be having about solar in general or about how solar works in different times of the years. And thank you so much for being here. So I'll let Annie go over our agenda.
Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. So we are going to have an hour packed full of lots of good information and lots of amazing stories from some real solar homeowners. So we're going to do introductions first, then go over a little bit of our theory of change if you're new to Solar United Neighbors, just to give you a background on what we do. And then we'll bust a couple of solar myths that people might have when it comes to solar and the cooler months, at least depending on where you're located. We'll walk through our panelist journeys and then have plenty of time for Q&A.
Yes, and before we dive into that, a few kind of housekeeping things will be that we have all of you on mute and our questions will be answered at the end. However, feel free to put your questions in Zoom as they come up. One of our team members will be monitoring that and answering some of those during the presentation, but our panelists will be answering the questions after their presentation. We ask that you keep everything respectful, approach things out of a place of curiosity, and we look forward to hearing all of your questions. Uh, Quick introductions on who we are. I'll let the wonderful Annie start.
Hi, everybody. Annie Wolf. I am our VP of Community Impact here at Solar United Neighbors. I'm here in Salem, Massachusetts. So it's a little chilly for me. And I've been at Sun for just over 4.5 years. Michelle?
Thank you, Annie. My name is Michelle Kowach. I'm a Community Impact Fellow with Solar United Neighbors. I've been with Sun for a few months now, and I'm located in Virginia. And today is actually quite warm for the fall months. And then our other colleague, Vincent, I'll let you introduce yourself as well.
Yeah, I can't see myself, but if you can see me, I'm Vincent Yurkovich, project consultant at Sun, coming to you from Kansas, where it is very hot and my AC is broken today. And I've been at Sun for 7 years and looking forward to everyone's questions. I'll go off video and I'll just be in the chat talking with folks as questions rise.
Wonderful. Thank you, Vincent.
Awesome. Well, I'll go through our theory of change quickly. So, Solar United Neighbors, we are a 501c3 nonprofit. We have programs in 12 states, as well as DC and Puerto Rico. And we also have a national presence. We were founded over a decade ago, and our goal since the very beginning has been to help people go solar, join together, and fight for our energy rights. So, our Go Solar portion is through supporting people on an individual basis as they go solar, and then also running our bulk purchase programs, also known as co-ops. So we're not an installer; we don't do the installations, but we bring people together to hopefully to come together in a large bulk purchase, then work with a local installer or an installer that's chosen by the co-op members. But we don't see that as the end of your solar journey. We really hope that once you do go solar, you are an advocate for solar throughout the rest of your life. That could mean signing petitions, talking to your legislator, just telling your solar story like our lovely panelists today, and really helping make solar accessible around the country and for everybody who hasn't gone through the process yet. Awesome. So, and then our myths today. So solar is a rain or shine proposition. If you aren't familiar with solar and you're just starting to learn about the concept of rooftop panels, or even ground mount panels, the idea that they maybe work in fall and winter with snow, things like that, is sort of hard to wrap your head around. But solar, especially plus storage, so with batteries, equals resiliency. So state and local requirements do ensure that solar installations withstand local weather conditions, and they are rated through heavy winds as well. So if you're in a hurricane risky area, that's something to definitely keep in mind. They are rated for wind as well. And when combined with battery storage, or at least thinking ahead about being able to add battery storage to your system, it can actually enable you to be self-sufficient after a grid outage. So just regular panels on your roof, won't be able to use them during a power outage, but that solar plus storage allows you to be able to use your panels and store energy for future use, keeping your house and even your neighbors a little bit more resilient.
Wonderful. Thank you, Annie. And now, so hopefully you can, that alleviates some potential questions and things that you can keep in mind. And now we're going to give the floor to our panelists. We're really excited to have three wonderful panelists today, all from different states. So they might all have a slightly different perspective, and they all have gone through the process. So you'll be able to hear from people who, not too long ago might have, been having the same exact questions you have. So they're going to be a really wonderful resource for all of you today. All right, we'll give the floor. We'll start with Michelle.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Michelle Simmons. I live in the beautiful city of Dayton, Ohio, in Southwest Ohio. About 137,000 of us here, considered the Midwest. Chose solar because I was considering it for many years. Several of my coworkers had installed solar on their homes, and so I was kind of gauging with them how things went with theirs. And once I learned about the 30% tax rebate and the vendor provided a very reasonable cost estimate, then I instantly took action on my desire to inspire my neighbors and help uh, the community pick up solar, and the rising electricity costs were another driver that pushed me there, and my desire to use clean energy. I am in the sustainability career field, so it kind of aligned with where I want to go as a person and the support I want to provide for my community. Next slide, please.
Great.
So telling you a little bit about my system, this is my little house here. I've got a 5.7 kilowatt system. It consists of 15 solar panels. This was estimated to provide 98% of the power needs for my home. So it wouldn't cover all of my power needs, but most of it. The highest electric bill that I've seen since my installation, which was in September of 2022, was $41. So just to give you a little inspiration, that 98% of my power need definitely has met my expectation. And we also installed an electric vehicle charge line to our garage from the solar panel. So when I do acquire my EV, which is anticipated for next year, I can also use the capacity from I have 15 Silfab, which is the type of panels are 380 BK panels, and they come with a 25-year product warranty, which is very pleasing to me when technology changes so quickly. Next slide, please. So what did your journey look like? For me, I was pretty excited about participating on Solar United Neighbors neighborhood co-op. They offered opportunity for the community to be a part of the bid review panel, to actually look through the data provided by those who had bidded on the neighborhood co-op. We evaluated about 6 installers, if I recall correctly, and I personally selected Ohio Power Solutions. It's a father-son company out of London, Ohio, which is, for me, local. It's maybe 30, 40 minutes from my home. Some of the tools that were very helpful in making that decision to move forward was Solar United Neighbors' coordination of the process. They just made it so easy, so interactive, and I felt like I was making a decision that was well supported by very knowledgeable participants and staff. The answers provided to me by Solar United Neighbors was very helpful. I had just placed a new roof and new gutters on my home, so installing a solar, my husband's first question was, how's that going to affect our roof warranty? So I was able to get some of that information up front before I decided to move forward. That was very helpful. The responsiveness of the vendor that I selected, Ohio Power Solutions, was incredible, texting regularly when I had questions that came up after the estimate was provided me. And also the vendor selected the Solar Edge inverter for our 15 panels that inverts the power that's generated, and it comes with an app, so I can trace the actual energy being produced daily, weekly, monthly, and then how much is going to be on my bill through the app real time. For me, being a bit of a numbers and data geek, that was definitely a win for me. Next slide, please. Some of the challenges we faced for us here in Dayton, Ohio, we had our utility install a net meter. So we did not opt for a battery yet, and I emphasize yet, but we had a net meter installed, so any additional solar that's generated from the panels basically causes our electricity meter to go backward, and we receive a credit from our utility. I have had some questions about utility billing concerns, just to make sure I understand that I'm receiving the credit from the solar that's generated. And again, with the installation of a new roof and gutters, the grid design that the Solar United Neighbors selected for me worked very well. So the panels are not directly on the roof, but they're on a skid system. So what went well? The installers provided a free estimate. That should be first and foremost. Any installer should look at least 2 years of your electricity usage and provide you a free estimate of what it's going to cost and how much you should save from that installation. The installer was very responsive to questions, more savings than I could have expected. With 98% energy from my design, I expected to see a few more bills, but I basically have a zero bill with a credit for most of the year, with the exception of the summertime when I'm running both air conditioners in our house. We have mobile air conditioners. And then the winter, I have just a very small bill, around $1 or $2, when we have less sun in the wintertime here, just for 1 month. And the best of what went well, installation of our system within 1 day. They started first thing in the morning, and by early afternoon, it was completed. Next slide, please. So my main takeaway from this installation is absolutely seek advice from Solar United Neighbors. If they're hosting a neighborhood co-op, get involved up front. Seek any and compare any credible experience you have. Like I said, I had coworkers who were instrumental in helping me make that decision. Ask questions throughout the process, request a free estimate, and absolutely track and compare. I have 2 years worth of data that I track monthly now for actual energy consumption and the costs and savings, and it is icing on the cake for me. So I absolutely have no regrets. But again, it's a 2-year experiment for me, and I'm looking forward to my next opportunity to see how long this is going to continue for us. Thank you.
Right. Thank you so much, Michelle. That was wonderful. We're going to go to our next panelist speaker. Suhashini, I will let you take it from here.
Hello, I am Suhashini. Our property that we electrified is in Boulder, Colorado. And my husband and I have really just been passionate about electrification for many years, and going solar was really just a piece of that for us. And so we really decided to go solar to just continue to be energy independent and really be carbon zero, not just carbon neutral, but to generate all of our energy ourselves and have that be green as possible. Next. So I took 2 pictures, one of the house on the side and then one from the, I grabbed a satellite view so you can kind of see on that left-hand side. We actually bought this property with solar already on that outbuilding. Then we had 5.5 kilowatts of a sun power system that was already installed when we bought the property. That was something that was important to us because it helped us already kind of get ahead, if you will. We didn't have to go through the whole process to start receiving the benefits of solar. It was already there. And then about 2 years after we lived in the property, we added on 12.8 kilowatts of Tesla powers of solar panels. And then we also bought 3 power walls. The house, the photo on the bottom is us doing some renovation. So they're covered by a big table, I think, but they're in that garage. There is where our power walls live. We also have 2 EVs. Our little Todd, our Tesla Model 3 is parked out front. And we also have a fully electric house, which I'll talk about kind of the positives and negatives of that on a few slides down. So, like as I said, going solar was just a part of a larger journey of electrification. We bought that house with existing solar. Unlike Michelle, we only got 3 quotes for our solar. And then we actually didn't know about Solar United Neighbors or their co-ops when we went solar. And so as a result, we really mostly used YouTube videos and word of mouth for us as we planned out our solar journey. I added on the 2 pieces above and below because I wanted to just point those out. Things have just continued to expand and grow in this area, which I love. Rewiring America, they're a great organization. They have this amazing home guide. If you go onto their website and find their personal electrification planner. Up at that menu bar, you can click on each individual piece of your home, and they have great guides with questions and everything. So if I were to be doing this now, I would certainly access that for lots of questions about this, so you don't have to become an expert on every piece of your home. And then also I volunteer for an organization called Go Electric Colorado. We are made up of people like myself, my buddy Dave is here. We are just passionate about electrification and love to talk to people about it. And we're self-funded. We have no money, which we don't mind because we just love talking about it. And then we just get to help other people like you. So feel free to reach out to us at Go Electric Colorado. We talk to people from all over, and other organizations too around the country, made up of similar homeowners that are just excited and want to share more information. So there's great tools available now in this day and age, which is fabulous. Next. So there were some things that went really, really well. As I said, we were really on a goal to become carbon neutral, carbon zero. And so really just to generate all of our power. Unfortunately, we were very short of that because, again, I was just loving Michelle's numbers of 98%. We are not there. But that is for a couple of reasons. One is that we, that power is powering our heating, our cooling, our cooking, our washing and drying, the energy that pushes our car forward. So what you most have gas, right? Your gas bill. So that is everything all together. So that 56% self-powered, we actually weren't even living in the house for 6 months out of the year. So that number is a little bit lower than we would like. I work about an hour away, so I do quite a bit of driving. And so that's just something that we strive for, a fun game to play. We also can participate in additional utility-led programs. So for example, we've participated in programs where we get a rebate and then they might turn off or have access to adjust some of our charging, et cetera. We really love our battery backup. When we do have power outages, which don't last long, but are fairly frequent, maybe 5 minutes to a few hours, our house just seamlessly switches over to battery backup, which is pretty fabulous. We do love that aspect of it. Next slide. And so I would say, kind of based on our experience, my main piece of advice is, again, if you are going fully electric, it can be difficult to get solar to cover all of your solar generation, to cover all of your electricity needs. On our house, we thought we were going to be doing some remodeling, and so we didn't put our solar panels in the best place for them to utilize solar. And so we'll probably add more, but even with that, it'll be tough for us. We didn't really get enough quotes looking back. If I knew then what I knew now, I would have definitely asked for more quotes, talking to more people, getting more information. And if you can, I would highly recommend battery storage as a way to just complete the package, if you will, and become really self-sufficient. I think Annie touched on that in the beginning, and really does kind of help round it out and make it a real full system and not just one piece of your home. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sahashini, and we will now let Patrick share his story.
All right. Well, hello, everybody. My name's Patrick. I'm from Arizona, where we get a lot of sun, and we also get a lot of wind. Why did I decide to go solar? I've been tuned into the environment since I was probably in my early 20s, with quality of air issues, quality of water issues in the United States. And I just knew that my motivation was to contribute to all of those things as little as I could. You know, and the argument is, well, you still have to manufacture solar panels. But when you consider what it takes to put in an electrical grid in the country, all of the wiring, all the piping, all the poles for everyone, it's a no-brainer for me to know that independent energy coming from your rooftop or your yard is so much of a simpler, less impactful installation. So I went solar originally in 2000 in a small cabin I lived in North Idaho, where I was able to install my own little solar system and learn about it and learn how it worked and how well it worked. And even in that cloudy environment of North Idaho, it created as much power as I needed. And admittedly, I didn't need a lot. I was in a off-grid little cabin, taking care of my life, doing my work and so forth. But it was just a go, go, go for me after that experience. So when we moved to Arizona, with all of this sun and so forth, and now being with my partner, Carolyn, 3 months after moving into our new home here, we started talking to solar installers, and decided to definitely have it done here. So that's the big reason there. Tell us about your system. As it says on there, we have 16 LG panels. You're only gonna see 12 there because we did have an issue also with our installation, which I'll get to with recommendations for you later. But our monthly electric bill is averaged around 25, and we were only in this home for 3 months, so we had a little bit of an idea about our monthly bill, but we didn't have that full year or whatever, which is of course probably nice to have. I kind of switched out of the question, the Q&A there, but
Oh, sorry, my slides glitched. I'm getting them back up, but keep talking, Patrick.
okay, so due to the wind and so forth, we decided to take a few of our panels off of where they were there and actually place them in the backyard, which I'm sorry, I didn't get a photo of that. But again, with the wind and everything up there, definitely make sure that you get estimates and talk to them about where they would install your panels. We chose not to have them on our roof. It wasn't facing directly south enough, number one. And as you might be able to tell, we have a tile roof, and I've never had a tile roof before. And quite honestly, I just didn't want to mess with that. Plus, in a new home, we weren't sure if we were going to have any roof issues and so forth, which we ended up having roof issues. And so it was really great that we didn't have to take panels down or anything like that. So that's something to consider. But we are grid tied. We do not have storage because we wanted to pay cash for our system, and we were limited in our budget, but we looked at the quotes and so forth and realized that we could pay cash to get ourselves hooked up to the grid. We would like to put in storage because that's when you realize total independence, and it's just a wonderful feeling. So that's the reason we're grid tied now. We went solar in 2019, so we've been on it, going on close to 5 or a little over 5 years now. Okay, next slide. What did your journey look like? Well, I've kind of covered that a little bit already. For me, it was a matter of many years wanting to live a certain lifestyle. And I knew I wanted it again. It seems a little overwhelming when you start to learn about it and all, but really when you interview people and you find that person, it's like any purchase you make in your life, you find this person that makes you comfortable, explains things in the way that you can understand. It really does become kind of a seamless opportunity. There can be mistakes, but for instance, when our company needed to come back on my request and move some of our panels, no charge. They stood behind their work. By the way, it's called the Solar Store in Tucson, Arizona. I'm unaffiliated, but a very, very happy customer. And again, I think it took our folks 2 days, partially because we're in a different town. And they had some travel time, but they did a really great job on the installation. So I did use online guides, but really having done this before, I kind of just, we interviewed 2 companies is all we did. And we were happy with what we heard. One of them was better, and we were very comfortable with that person. So no co-op, we're on our own. Solar was installed in 2019. What tools were helpful? Again, online guides, my own experience, and then I have talked over the years to many dozens probably of solar folks, and I've only heard from 1 or 2 that ended up not being happy with going solar, and it was for reasons that I felt didn't pertain to me. So, okay, next slide. Challenges, financing wasn't a challenge for us because we went cash, but I would say, from what I've heard online and talking to other people, I would be very careful with leases. I'm not saying not to do them because there's probably some really good opportunities there. But I do know people that have been stuck in a lease they didn't understand. It's like any contract. Please read every word in it and make sure that you're comfortable with that. I lost my slide again.
Sorry, Patrick, it's glitching a little bit. Give me one moment.
I wish I was better at, I could help you out if I was, I wrote this stuff so long ago, I don't even remember what I put. And the choosing the companies is just like anything, and everyone's covered that so well. I really don't have anything to add there, except take your time and get your questions together. And again, ask them where they'll install it. And why they're choosing that. We are so happy with the direction our panels face. Again, we were hoping for a little closer to 100%, I think. That's one thing I didn't understand, outfitting a whole home. We have an 1,800 square foot home. We do have gas heat, but we have predominantly electric everywhere else. And of course, as you might imagine, in southern Arizona, we're actually at 4,800 feet. So we not only use a ton of air conditioning in the summer, but in the winter we do use heat as well. And so we're super happy. I think our highest bill has probably been in the 40-something dollar range. And honestly, that's because our co-op, our electric co-op that we're still grid tied to, has raised the rates. To some degree, I think it was you have the monthly bill that you pay for the connectivity to them, and then you have your usage. And one of those rates went up. I'm confused right now, but at any rate, our bill did go up just a little bit, but we're grandfathered in on our ability to, same thing, reverse our meter whenever we overproduce, which, does happen 3 to 4 months out of the year. We're getting credit. We pay nothing at the end of the month and we get a credit for the next month.
I can also share my slides if that's easier.
Thanks, Annie. Yeah, perhaps let's do that. Mine, for whatever reason, keeps stopping.
Yeah, I just want to make sure I'm on the right side. Right. Okay. Right. Visible.
One
more. Perfect. Okay.
Yeah. There you go. What went well from estimates and choice of company to permits, installation use, it's been great. We didn't have any hang up, not one hang up except that panel movement. We also use the tax incentives, research that really well, find anything you can, because when we did the math, and it turns out that my math is pretty correct. And I'll just be open and honest, it took 20,000 and some change to put in all our panels. We have LG panels and we have Enphase microprocessors, same sort of website app ability that one of the other talkers mentioned, so we can monitor our production every day if we want. And for the first year, of course, I did that. I was constantly looking at the app. Look at that, man, we're getting a lot of power right now. But so with the tax incentives, it's only going to take us 7 years from the date we installed, roughly, give or take a few months there, for us to be in the black, which I found pretty amazing. Again, we do live in a sunny area, but we also do use a lot of power here. So, and then again, the warranty lasts into the 2040s. So, we're right now 5 years into it and we're feeling pretty darn good about it. We've not had a problem with anything breaking down, or any issues like that. Okay. What's your main piece of advice? I kind of covered that. Really do not be shy with the installers that you interview, and even with other people you might meet that have solar. Ask questions. Don't be afraid to sound like you don't know what you're talking about, or if you do, share facts, share experiences, and just make sure that you like what they're going to do, because it is an installation of a lot of expensive equipment. But when you get that done, I can't tell you the feeling that you have when so much of your bill and so much of what might be considered pollutive, the pollutive impact of your power is just a nice thing to live with. So interview and choose from local companies with, I like a lot of experience. There's just a lot of people that came out and they're doing these installations. And of course, they need the experience in order to get their track record. But I like a lot of experience and to know they've put in hundreds of installations. Don't lease, pay cash if possible, or get your own financing. Again, I don't want to badmouth leases. I'm sure there are some out there, but do be very careful. Read all your contracts thoroughly. Have an engineer check the panel placement, which is something maybe I could have done. We put it on our portico out here with great big 6x6s. And when the wind really got socking, because we have some incredible winds down here in southern Arizona, I could hear just that little bit of movement, and it's close enough to being installed on my home that I wasn't comfortable after a while with that. And so that's when they agreed to come back and just take the one row of panels that was sticking up into the wind above the profile of the home. And they moved it again. They did it for free, and they did a great installation at another point in our yard. So and then my other recommendation is if you're considering it and you think you'd like it, don't be intimidated, just do it and find the way that the payments or whatever work for you. It's truly a long-term investment that will pay you back for years and years. And I'm older, I'm 67 this year, and it's a way for me to say to the younger people of the world, everyone is impacting the planet. There's nothing we can do about that. But we can try to do the least amount that we can. And that's part of why we drive a car we drive a hybrid at this point, not a full electric. And we have these panels, and then we're just, we try not to use any more water than we need to, et cetera, all just to have a good conscience for ourselves that we tried and we did what we could do. So that's about it for now.
Thank you so much, Patrick, and all of our other wonderful panelists. I hope that you guys found that insightful, and you can see that, everyone has kind of a different angle in how they're approaching it, what they're looking for, and even thoughts that they have coming out of the process, right? And so every situation, right, you'll kind of cater it to yourself, but hopefully this is helpful in terms of guiding you in some of your steps. If you have some questions that you would like to ask the panelists and our team, I know some of them have been answered in the chat. You can also put them in the Q&A feature that will help highlight those for us to start reading out loud.
So there was one pretty common one, which was about roofs and adding solar to your roof and what that does. Have any of our panelists experienced a roof replacement while you've been a solar owner?
I have not.
I had been advised that you want to put solar on a new roof, and I had already planned to do a roof and gutter replacement on my home before I made the decision to go solar.
Definitely, that's the advice we give as well. Do any of your contracts include one removal throughout the lifetime of the panels, or is that something that's not in your contract?
Correct, that's not in ours. That's a good point. Dang it.
I don't know. Vincent would be the one to answer how common that is anymore, but at least in the last few years, I've heard that that's something that it can include a removal and a reinstallation. But again, typically the advice is to install on a new roof for sure. So
yes, our panels are warranted for 30 years, but the 25 to 30 years, but our replacement came from the vendor who said 12-year warranty. So within 12 years, they'll come back and replace any panels that are defective or not performing, but I have not experienced that in the 2 years we've been up and running.
Another comment.
I'll just add, sorry, Annie. Someone was saying that the 30% tax credit can cover a roof replacement. We're not tax advisors, but this isn't official advice, but we've heard from good sources that that is probably not true. So maybe that person was trying to close a sale. And yeah, like Michelle was saying, the panels can last at a minimum of 25 years, but I've even seen ones made in the 80s that are still installed on roofs. So going on like 40. So it is just important to make sure that your roof is in really good condition. Because and a reputable installer will also identify those issues as well. Because if you have a problem with your roof, they don't want your problem to become their problem.
I could add that we did end up replacing our roof, which cost $14,000, and our tax credit was more in the $7,000 to $8,000 line. So yeah, and we were hoping to use that tax credit psychologically to say that's how little we owe, and so we will pay off our system more quickly. So a roof is, a roof, and sometimes you are going to have to replace them. That's just the way life is. So.
Yeah, if you live in a house long enough, that's going to be the case. And then the other popular topic in here was insurance. Did any of you have any negative experiences with insurance, positive experience with homeowners insurance? I know it's very much dependent on the state, but if any of you would like to talk about your experience with your own homeowners insurance, I'm sure that'll be interesting to the group.
Well, I called my insurance company prior to making the decision to install it, and they said it did not cost anything additional and it would be covered.
Same here, ditto here. Yep.
So Philip in the Q&A was asking, what sort of roof metal has a longer life, foam and comp, you get recoating before you reach the end of life of the panel. So all of the roof types have different mounting hardware that is designed to work with the roof. So for example, if it's a like standing seam metal roof, you're going to have clamps that don't even penetrate the roof because they're not going to drill into metal. So if you needed to replace that metal roof, you would just unclip the panels. If you have like a composition shingle roof, you're going to have basically installation mounts that raise the penetration point above the roof so that water flows around and not over the penetration point. And if you have like a flat roll tile roof or something like that, you may just have no actual penetration points, but where the panels themselves just are weighted down by cement blocks. So there really is a hardware solution for almost all types of roofs. If you have like a Spanish tile roof, that's actually not a metal roof, but like a real Spanish tile roof, you may need to remove those. If you have a slate roof, that probably wouldn't work. But most people are working with like comp shingles, and those are the bread and butter. Those work really well.
How about panel cleaning? Has anybody had experience with that so far? Generally, they don't need to be cleaned, but some of you live in dusty areas. So, any experiences so far with that?
Interesting that you asked that. Just about 2 weeks ago, or maybe 3 weeks ago, we had some residual wind from the hurricane that came up through the country, and I'm in Ohio, wonderful Midwest here. So all we got was a little bit of wind, but I did notice a little bit of dust and leaves, and I literally took a hose because I'm an OCD type of person and just kind of hosed it off, and it was fine. And then my husband said the wind, once it dries, is going to blow the rest of the leaves off anyway, but I wanted all the solar penetration I could get for that day.
Yeah, ours have basically been maintenance free. Again, we do have one mounting in the backyard that's easy to reach. So when I'm back there watering plants, if it looks dusty to me, which we do get a lot of dust in the Southwest, I'll spray it down and then squeegee it very lightly off. And then the ones that are up on the portico roof, every month to 2 or 3 months, when I see that they're pretty dusty, we haven't had rain in a long time, I'll spray them off. I don't analyze the output or the solar gain on those closely enough to say, I know that spraying them off every, so often and helps, but, and I think I have read where some people did do that test and it was really didn't matter a whole lot, if they're reasonably, clean and not, I guess, caked with stuff, of course, but yeah, they're pretty maintenance free.
We do clean off snow in Colorado. The panels on our outbuilding are low enough that we bought a long time ago a telescoping pusher, I guess, for a lack of a better word, and we just extend it and then we'll scrape it off and then have to, so it does add a little bit of fun onto our snow plowing days, the ones up on top of the house. I think as Patrick was kind of mentioning with his cleaning them off, they're too high, so we just let the sunshine naturally do what it does best for those. That does make a difference because it does take long enough for the snow to melt that we do see a nice little spike after we get our cleaning done.
Yeah, sure. And we do get hail here, not like some areas of the country, but we've gone through several hailstorms and never had so much as a nick or a ding on anything. So they're pretty strong.
Same, we get golf ball, I think, was our largest. Same, no damage.
That's not small.
Amazing. Ooh, I saw another question in the chat about home value when you add solar panels and how that affects it. Do you guys, being homeowners, I know Sun has an answer on this, but we'd love to hear from you guys as well.
Well, I'm a licensed realtor. I don't practice a lot anymore, but a lot of folks argue that putting solar on your home does not raise the value. And it's like anything that you try to sell. When you find the buyer that it matters to, they're willing to pay for that thing that they want. So I would say that most definitely when you can talk to someone or have your realtor talk to someone and let them know that, for instance, this is what our electric bill used to be, and this is what our electric bill is now. Here's where we are in the life of the system. Here's the warranty that transfers over. Certainly it's worth some thousands of dollars to have next to free electricity, compared to what you would be paying. So, and if it's someone who respects and understands solar, of course, they're going to be on board more. It could be like a pool to some people. I don't want a pool. It's just a bunch of work or whatever, and they don't want it. I don't want solar panels. I don't understand them. But otherwise, yes, you can add on some percentage based on how long you've had it, how much it's taken down your utility bills and so forth.
What's Solar United Neighbors' official position? Because I don't know this one.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks, Patrick. So Vincent, you might be able to speak a little bit better to this, but I think I remember seeing a resource that had said that it can up to like 4% in value.
Well, what I've heard is that there have been very like hyper local studies in certain markets like a Tucson or a San Diego, where like they've looked at it and seen a positive correlation with increasing home values in solar, but it's just the evidence is so scattered, and it really is dependent on like the local market, and probably locally in your area, if you're not in one of those major metropolitan areas where there's a huge amount of solar, it might be hard to sell that in a contract. But it does reduce your operating cost of your home. So, I mean, in theory, it should make the home more valuable.
We have done a selling your solar home session in the past. So it sounds like we may need to do another one because it's definitely a useful thing. I saw a question directly from Michelle, and whether your 98% covers all of your energy usage in terms of heating, cooking, water, lights, etc.
Great question. No, it doesn't. I actually have natural gas steam heating in the home that I only use during the probably worst parts of the winter, December, January, February of the year. We have a full basement, and if you know anything about ground insulation, it can kind of keep your basement to be about 55, 60 degrees, regardless of whether it's 100 degrees outside or if it's 20 degrees outside. So we kind of have a good situation. It's an all brick house, about 2,100 square feet with 3 fireplaces. So I don't really need the heating, but I love steam heating, and it's a natural gas fueled steam heat. So keep the booze down. They serve their purpose as an interim energy source. And the other question I'd like to say about that natural gas component is somebody had asked in the chat about emergency during power outages. Because my electricity feeds into the utility and it net meters the additional solar that I generate during a power outage, I'm not generating any solar that I'm getting credit for. But conversely, I have a natural gas emergency generator of whole house, 8 kilowatt natural gas home uh, natural gas generator. So I am never without power. I hope to aspire to a battery, and I appreciate the conversations in the chat about battery prices. When I did this 2 years ago, it would have cost more for the battery than for my system after rebate. And so that just didn't make good cost sense for me. The way I paid paid cash for the costs for me, my payoff is in, 10 years, and it's a 30-year system. So it's a relatively fantastic return on investment when I look at it over the lifetime of the system. But again, I do still have natural gas influence that I hope to reduce with battery when it becomes cost efficient.
And another thing to keep in mind, we've all talked, about how much it does help us with the bill. Everybody pretty much has that monthly charge just for being connected to a grid. And your solar goes towards that as well. So when I say we had nothing that month, we had nothing, not even the bill just for being connected. And again, that only happens with us 3 or 4 times a year, but it's real nice. And then averaging 35 or, whatever dollars a month the rest of the time. So.
I wish I was that lucky. We're not quite there yet.
Conversely, from Patrick, which is a great summary, we have a bill maybe 3 times a year, and then the rest of the years we have the credit, the solar credit that's rolling in to pay for the distribution and supply charges on the bill. So it's just a good situation.
Well, and it does depend on the estimate they do when they look at your home and they listen to your usage. And again, we could only give them 3 months worth of bills. So had we decided to put on 2 or 4 more panels, of course, it would have cost us more for the installation, but then we would have even had less bills. We're thrilled with it the way it is. It's not an issue. It's working. But, that's another thing is talk to them about if you wanted to just do something to start. What does it cost to have someone come out and add to your system if you choose to get 2 panels or whatever more? Because that's another thing that we would like to do along with adding battery backup or just complete storage. Ideally, I'd love to be on complete storage. But it is true when you're on complete storage and you're totally off the grid, if anything happens with your system, it's just like when the power goes down for the electric company. You either have a backup or you don't. It's on you. Same thing when you're on your own power company. It's nice to have either that small generator to at least run your refrigerator, freezer, or whatever your necessities are. So.
I had seen there are a few questions about quotes, and I'm wondering if you guys can talk a little bit about how you evaluated the quotes you got, and also I don't know if you remember any of your numbers, but just how you kind of approach that.
So we only got 2 quotes, and I believe one came in at closer to 24, one came in at just a hair over 20, and that was certainly part of it, but it wasn't enough of a difference. What we liked was the thoroughness of the person that came out to talk to us. There was no salesperson persona, and I've been a salesperson in a few different places in my life. I have nothing against salespeople if they're honest. And we felt, neither of them felt dishonest. We just felt like one gentleman was not pushy. He really looked it over. He spent several hours with us. And when we had a few questions near the end, but when we asked him, he had answers. And actually, he was a part owner in the company, so we felt pretty confident with that. But otherwise, the quotes seemed honestly pretty comparable. It was more the personality of the person and the track record of the company and how long it had been functioning, and then a little bit of 20% actually, or whatever savings. Those things went into our decision.
So we got 3 quotes, 2 local companies and then Tesla. And for us, honestly, in the end, it came down to money. Tesla was 2/3 of the cost of both of the other local companies. We actually liked one of the local companies better. In the end, we paid about $49,000 for 12.8 kilowatts of solar and then those 3 power walls. So for us, when we were spending that much money, that 2/3 cost really made a difference. And so for us in the end, it was really a money driver. I didn't speak to it on my slides, but we did have some customer service issues with Tesla. I wish we could have done that more local company. I think we would have had an experience closer to Patrick's, who was saying, we loved everything. It went great. Nothing went wrong. Our inverter was down for it broke, and then it was about 2 months before it got fixed. So we lost 2 months of solar generation naturally in June and July. And so that is one thing that we were talking when we were talking about roof replacement and things like that. Yes, you want to check whether that's covered or not, but also think about the fact that you will be losing that generation while that conversion is happening. So that was the reasons why we chose who we chose, and then our experience with it. It wasn't perfect, but like I said, in this particular case, money drove it, knowing that we were going to be able to get a fairly large system with those 12.8 kilowatts and then those 3 Powerwall backups. There's more options now, but again, a few years ago, sort of it was Tesla and one other one, I think, were sort of our options for those Powerwalls. So that's what we ended up doing.
Excellent. I want to just reiterate that getting as many quotes as you can and knowing that it doesn't have to be a one and done. You can evolve your system and it can grow to whatever you want to make it be. Just take the leap and start and do it. So for us, I was involved in the panel that reviewed the bidders for the Solar United Neighborhood Co-op. And so there were 6 potential bidders and a spreadsheet that showed all of the technical details of what they would charge for which component, materials, inverters, da 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 da. And so I basically pulled that information and made a spreadsheet because that's how my mind processes information. And I opted, again, I paid maybe $14,000 for our system with a 30% rebate, which got about $4,000 or $5,000 back, and ended up paying maybe a little over $10,000 total for the system outright. And so for me, it was a win-win. Again, I wanted to go battery, but the technology wasn't there yet. I ended up going with a father-son owned company who has done neighborhood co-ops all over the Midwest, and they live 30 minutes from me. And I text them with a million questions, and they text me back very quickly and help me kind of think through my technical questions. And one other thing is my husband is a retired roofer. And so he had 1,000,001 roofing questions for them that I could care less about. And they were when they came and sat down with us, they were just willing to hear and answer every question that we came up with. And my husband put them to the test, I guarantee you. So those things helped me quickly decide of the vendors that did bid. The cost was there. The rebate was there. They dealt with everything. The vendor dealt with the utility for the installation of the meter. They walked me through filing for taxes, the tax rebate, and any questions we had. Even asked the question during the installation about cleaning the panels, and they said they were thinking about spinning off a company to do panel cleaning because they're kind of so forward thinking in how to be helpful to customers who get systems installed through their company. And so it was an obvious for me once we had gone through the process and talked to the bidders.
So you get what you pay for. I took the cheaper route and struggled a little bit. Michelle and Patrick had local and got really great service. It's awesome.
Amazing. Yeah. Thank you so much, guys. We're, coming to the end of our talk. I have put an email in our chat. Get involved at solarunitedneighbors.org. If you have any questions that we didn't get to, please send your questions there. And then I had seen a few questions about like warranties and such. So I took Vincent's answer and I reposted that in the chat. But yes, if any other questions arise, please let us know. Annie's going to share a slide in a moment with an action item we encourage you to take.
I have to unmute. Yeah, go for it.
Oh, thank you, Annie. Yeah, so Sun has wonderful guides. A great starting point is our Go Solar guide. We have many others with much more specific focuses, but a great place to start is that specific guide. So please check that out. Another great resource we have is our solar help desk. All of our resources are free. You can actually talk with a solar specialist about your individual questions and systems, and they can help you go through your quotes as well. So if you're in that stage, please book that 15-minute appointment. Annie, is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, just thank you all for attending. This was great. And thank you so much to our wonderful panelists. You shared some awesome information.
Yes, thank you, everyone. We really, really appreciate it. And yeah, best of luck in your going solar process.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.